Okay, so in this lecture, finally, I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this rule, right? So antecedent, then the consequent, right? So this is a consequent. Okay, so to do this, first I have to open the I have to open the swirl tab. And if you don't see the swirl tab, once again go to Windows, Tabs, and then add this swirl tab, right? SWRL tab. Okay, and then you have to say create a new, right? And I think the author says that the name for this rule is, I think it's in the step number 3. Yeah, hard discount rule. Okay, so I mean, for the name, you can put any name, right? But let's just follow the tutorial. So I'm gonna just follow the tutorial, but you can put any name, right? You can put any name. It's just the name of the rule, but I'll just follow the tutorial, hard discount rule, right? And the comments, you can type any comments, right? So maybe I say that, you know, for your first rule, right? Okay, now here is the important part. So I'm gonna first put the expressions, right, in the header, right? So this is what these expressions are. Are all in the antecedent field, right? So the customer, right? That's the class name. Then I'm gonna put the variable name C, and right, and the number of pizza purchased, and then I have a two variable, right? The customer C, the variable that I use in the customer, and then the variable name NP. By the way, this is a variable name, so you don't have to really follow the the textbook. You can say C1, right? Then you have to put the C1 here, right? But my point is, this is a variable name, so you can use any variable name that you want, right? But once again, I'm just follow the tutorial, okay? And then this is NP, number of pizza, right? Once again, this is the variable name, so you can say num pizza, right? So let's just put a num pizza, okay? Since this is variable name, I can put any variable. I can use any variable name, right? And has spiciness preference, right? And then customer C, and then now it's a constant value. This is not a variable because first of all, since it's not a variable, I don't put the question mark, right? Okay, hard. And now what? The swirl built-in functions greater than, and then what? This NP, instead of NP, I use what? Num pizza as a variable name, so I have to be consistent. Num pizza, right? And then greater than 1. Oops. So I'm done with the antecedent. Now it's time to write the arrow, and then after that I have to put the consequent of the rule, right? Which is has discount, and the customer, and then what? 0.2, 20% discount. Okay, so that's my rule, right? And then I'm done with this rule, so click OK. So you see that I have a rule called hard discount rule, right? This one, right? And then what you have to do is run the listener. Okay, maybe stop listener, and I'm gonna start listener again, right? So let's just run the listener. Okay, so I'm run the listener. Everything's fine, right? Okay, and then another thing is there's a minor bug in the swirl after you run the this listener, right? The prefix is added. So for example, when you look at this, everything there's a prefix, the pizza, is added to the class name and property name and pretty much everything, right? So that's the just the minor bug, but it's nothing. Just read this, but it does not, you don't have to worry about it because it's not really affect your result. Okay, so the prefix just added. This is just small minor bug. Okay, so you run the reasoner, right? So now your next step is to look at the go to what individual by class. Okay. Now I want you to look at this customer 1, for example, and as you can see, right? As you can see, this has been added, has discount, right? So this is a highlight by in yellow, right? So that means this data property is asserted, right, by the what? By the reasoner, the palette reasoner. And this is due to the what? Due to our rule, due to our swirl rule, right? Because the customer is what? It's purchased more than one pizza, right? And then what is his preference? His preference is hot, right? So thus, he has the customer 1 or she or he has a discount, like 20% discount. So this rule is added, as you can see, right? If you look at this rule, the C, this is a customer, right? And if the customer, purchase more than one pizza, right? Like, because this is number of pizza and that number of pizza is greater than 1, and then it's hot, preference, right? Then it's what? This is what? This data property is asserted, right? And maybe you can think this is like this is something that it's a reasoner, this is something that a reasoner basically make an inference, right? So as you can see, the customer 1 has 20% of discount. So this is added thanks to what? Thanks to swirl rule, right? Now let's take a look at another customers, right? The customer 10, the pizza purchases one, so nothing happens, right? The rule is not going to be fired, right? And look at the customer 2. Yes, hold on. Customer 2, this customer purchased 2 pizza, but no hot. But this customer has a medium preference. So the rule is not going to be fired for the customer number 2, right? Let's look at the customer 3, mild. Let's see. Okay, now look at the customer number 4. So this rule is executed, or this rule is fired, right? Why? Let's see. Because what? It purchased more than 2 pizza, right? I mean, more than 1, right? So obviously. And then what? What is the preference? The preference is hot. And that's why this data property is asserted by the reasoner. So the reasoner, infers that what? The customer 4 has 20% discount. So once again, this data property is asserted by what? Swirl rule, right? The palette reasoner fires the rules, and then this data property is asserted, right? You see that this is highlighted in yellow, right? So this is done by the reasoner. Okay. And let's see. Just keep going. Customer 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 8. Okay. Now, once again, the number of pizza purchases is 2, and the preference is hot. So yes, customer 8 also has 20% of discount. Now, as you can see, this, if you look at the if you look at this property, has discount in consequent, right? In the consequent of the rule, if you look at the has discount, the domain is what? Domain is customer, right? So that's why when I first go to the individuals, right? Individual by class, the first action that I took was to look at the customer, right? and to see if there's any data property or the object property, check if any data property or the object property is asserted, okay, by the listener. Okay, now if you look at this, if you look at this diagram, so after the SWOL and then the KB, the knowledge base, right? They both together, right? And after you execute the reasoner, what happened is the SWOL rule is being executed, right? So as a result, right? What's the result? Result is the something, right? I mean, a couple of things are added to what? To the A box as a result. So in this specific example, the things are added is what? For example, let's look at the customer one. The things are been added is what? The data property assertions. So in this specific example, the data, property is assertions, right? So there are a couple of data property assertions are added to the A box, okay? So there's no change in the T box, but after you run the SWOL rule, this is something that you have to recognize. This is something you should be able to observe. The SWOL rule, right? The result of running the SWOL rule, right, are either data property or what? Object property. Assertions are added to where? To the A box. Okay? So in this particular example, the data property assertions are, all those data property assertions were added, right? For example, in the specific case, has discount 0.2 for the customer number 1, and then what? Customer number 4, and etc., right? Okay. So now, after we execute the SWOL rule, right? Is there any different color that I can use? Let's say, let's see. Let's just use the orange, okay? So after SWOL is added, like, for the customer 1, right? For the customer 1, what has discount, right? Like a 0.2, right? That's added for the customer 1, and then customer, I think it's 5, and etc., right? There's a couple of assertions, the data assertions were added, okay, to A box. So the A box gets what? Larger, right? After we execute the SWOL rule. Okay, so that's the important thing that you should observe, right? I think I'm done with the exercise. Exercise 34, right? In my next lecture, I'm gonna cover exercise 35. Okay, thank you.